My colleague loved to play jokes. I have low blood sugar. She swapped my candy for salt pills, filming me as I got dizzy and laughed. The sunscreen she kindly handed me was mixed with itching powder, causing my skin to fester. On a 40 degrees Celsius day, she hid the air conditioner remote and said with a grin, "Keep calm and you'll feel cool," until finally, she tricked me into going to the outskirts under the blazing sun, emptied my water and medicine, and watched me fall into a coma from heatstroke, dying from multiple organ failure. After I died, she posted on social media, "My coworker is too weak, out of breath after a few steps, who's to blame?" When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day she first put salt pills in my candy. In this life, I'll make her taste what a real joke feels like. I braced myself against the wall as a familiar dizziness washed over me, my vision darkened, my limbs went weak, and cold sweat instantly soaked through my shirt. Low blood sugar, again. With trembling fingers, I reached into my pocket and felt the familiar candy wrapper. I tore it open almost desperately and shoved the candy into my mouth. Salt pills. The realization hit me like a bucket of ice water. I shuddered, and the unforgettable laughter rang in my ears. Ha ha ha, look at Song Minjing wobbling. Doesn't she look drunk? I raised my head with difficulty and saw Hu Siyuan holding her phone up, filming me, her face barely hiding her glee. A few colleagues beside her chuckled, some looked a little concerned, but no one stepped forward to help. This scene was exactly the same as in my past life. I had been reborn, back to 3 months before Hu Siyuan's pranks killed me, back to where this nightmare began. The saltiness in my mouth made me want to vomit, but what disgusted me even more was Hu Siyuan's hypocritical smile. In the past, I had been weak and endured it all, thinking they were just harmless jokes between colleagues, until those jokes escalated, time and again, and finally took my life under the scorching sun on that outskirts trip. "Siyuan, what is this you gave me?" I endured the dizziness, but my voice was unusually clear. Hu Siyuan's smile froze for a moment. She clearly hadn't expected my reaction. "Candy. What's wrong?" She blinked with innocent eyes. "Minjing, are you okay? You look terrible." "Is that so?" I laughed coldly, spat the salt pill into my palm, and held it up to her. "Then you taste it." The chatter in the office gradually died down. Several colleagues looked over curiously. Hu Siyuan took half a step back, a flicker of panic crossing her face before she quickly put on that fake, concerned expression again. "Oh, maybe I grabbed the wrong one. I have both salt pills and candy in my bag. They look really similar." "Wrong one." I took a step closer. "Then why did you specifically take the spare candy from my drawer and replace it with these? And why was your first reaction when I had a low blood sugar episode to film a video?" Instead of helping me, my voice wasn't loud, but it was especially clear in the quiet office. Several colleagues exchanged glances, some frowned. Hu Siyuan's expression changed. She hadn't expected me to know these details. "Minjing, what do you mean by that? I kindly gave you candy, and you're blaming me." Her eyes suddenly reddened. "I was just trying to make a joke." "A joke?" I interrupted her. "Making a joke out of someone's health? What's going on here?" Department head Lin poked his head out of his office, scanning us with displeasure. "Nothing, Director Lin." Hu Siyuan quickly switched to a sweet smile. "Minjing isn't feeling well. I was just trying to help." I watched her performance coldly, not exposing her. It wasn't time for a complete falling out yet. Experience had taught me that Hu Siyuan had Director Lin's backing. Making a rash move would only put me at a disadvantage. "If you're unwell, go to the break room. Don't affect everyone else's work." Director Lin threw out the words and shut his door. Hu Siyuan gave me a smug glance, then leaned in and whispered, "It's just a joke. You're not going to take it seriously, are you? Being so uptight, no wonder you have no friends." I looked her straight in the eye, my voice frighteningly calm. "Siyuan, do you know what I hate most? Malice disguised as a joke. From today on, every joke you make, I'll return tenfold." Her pupils contracted slightly. Clearly, my attitude had shaken her. Before she could respond, I turned and walked to the break room, taking real glucose tablets from my bag and placing them under my tongue. Sitting on the break room sofa, I closed my eyes to gather my thoughts. The advantage of rebirth was knowing what would happen next. Hu Siyuan's pranks would escalate step by step. Sunscreen laced with itching powder, a frozen AC remote, laxatives and coffee, and finally, that deadly outing. But this time, I wouldn't be a silent victim. I would make Hu Siyuan experience firsthand what it meant to suffer the consequences of her own actions. When I returned to my desk, I noticed Hu Siyuan surreptitiously taking a tube of sunscreen from her drawer. a malicious smile on her lips. The second joke was already prepared, wasn't it? I sat down expressionlessly and turned on my computer. My thoughts lingered on the last moment of my past life, the distorted vision under the blazing sun, my consciousness fading, and Hu Siyuan's grating laughter. Minjing, do you want some sunscreen? The UV is really strong today. Hu Siyuan's voice pulled me back to the present. She stood by my desk, waving a tube of white sunscreen, her smile innocent and harmless. The sunscreen looked ordinary, but I knew it was laced with powerful itching powder. In my past life, I had applied it without suspicion, and my skin turned red and painfully swollen, forcing me to take leave and go to the hospital. Hu Siyuan had just said with fake sympathy, "Oh, maybe you're allergic to some ingredient." "Thanks, but I have my own." I took out my sunscreen from my drawer and shook it at her. Hu Siyuan's smile faltered for a moment but quickly recovered. "Oh, this is a new product, really good, you should try it." She unscrewed the cap and squeezed out a small amount of white cream. I stared at the cream, then suddenly reached out and grabbed her wrist. "If it's so good, why don't you use it yourself?" The clatter of keyboards in the office seemed to soften. My peripheral vision caught several colleagues sneaking glances our way. Hu Siyuan hadn't expected this. Her wrist trembled slightly in my grip. "I already applied it this morning." "Is that so?" I laughed coldly, tightening my grip. "Then what's wrong with applying it again?" I pushed her hand toward her own face. "What are you doing?" Hu Siyuan yanked her hand back, the sunscreen dropping to the floor. Her voice was unnaturally sharp, drawing even more attention. I pretended to be surprised. "It's just a joke, you're not going to take it seriously, are you?" Using her own favorite line against her felt even more satisfying than I had imagined. Hu Siyuan's face flushed crimson. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but was interrupted by a round of applause. "Attention, everyone." Department head Lin stood in the center of the office and clapped his hands. "I just received word from headquarters. The Vera Group project has been moved up. The proposal is due next week. We'll split into 2 teams to compete, and the final plan will be selected. I'll lead Group A, Deputy Director Li will lead Group B." Lin scanned the office. "Volunteers, I want to be in a group with Minjing." Hu Siyuan suddenly raised her hand, her voice syrupy sweet. "We have the best." Was that the kind of where she stole my ideas and stabbed me in the back? Director Lin nodded approvingly. "Good, Song Minjing. Hu Siyuan, Wang Lei, Zhang Ida, you 4 are Group A, everyone else goes with Deputy Director Li." His gaze swept over me, and he added, "This project is critical to our second half performance. I expect everyone to give their all." After the meeting broke up, I walked straight to the bathroom. I shut the door and took deep breaths in front of the mirror. "Are you okay?" A low male voice made me jump. I turned to see Zhang Ida from technical support standing outside the bathroom corridor. Keeping a polite distance, he was tall, wearing his usual black t-shirt and jeans, his hair messy as if he'd just woken up. "The women's bathroom is being repaired, leak," he explained, pointing at the out-of-service sign. I then noticed the water stains and maintenance tools on the floor. In my past life, I had been so busy dealing with the aftermath of Hu Siyuan's sunscreen prank that I hadn't come to the bathroom at all, so of course I hadn't encountered this scene. "Thanks for the heads up." I nodded and prepared to leave. "The sunscreen," Zhang Ida suddenly said, his voice very low. I saw Hu Siyuan add something to it. I looked up sharply. Zhang Ida's expression was calm, but his eyes were unusually sharp. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked warily. He shrugged. "People in technical support see more than you'd think." After a pause, he added, "The company's surveillance system has interesting blind spots sometimes." My heart raced. His suggestive tone made me overthink. "Thanks for the warning," I repeated, this time more sincerely. When I returned to my desk, I found a sticky note. "Be careful of H. Her relationship with L isn't ordinary." I looked around, but didn't see anyone suspicious. The handwriting was as neat as if printed, no distinguishing features. My phone vibrated. It was my mother, Inging. "Have you eaten?" Her warm, familiar voice made my nose sting. "Yes." "Have you just finished?" Your father asked. "Are you coming home this weekend? He bought your favorite prawns and said he'd show off his cooking." I bit my lip. "I'll come, I'll definitely come," I said, my voice a little choked. "What's wrong? Is work not going well?" My mother noticed immediately. "No, I just miss you." I quickly composed myself. "Oh, is Dad taking his blood pressure medicine on time?" "Yes, yes, don't worry, work hard, take care of yourself, and don't rely on takeout." After hanging up, I leaned against the wall and took a deep breath. My family's care was like a mirror. reflecting how isolated I was in the workplace. No one would protect me except myself. Back in the office, Hu Siyuan was whispering in Director Lin's ear, both of them laughing in a way that seemed too familiar. Lin was nearly 40, married with a child, yet he accepted Hu Siyuan's attentions without question. Minjing, here's the information for the Vera project. Hu Siyuan suddenly appeared in front of me, handing me a folder, her smile sweet. Director Lin says you'll be responsible for the market analysis portion. It's due tomorrow. I opened the folder. It was a thick stack of disorganized data tables, clearly intentionally unorganized. Okay, I said calmly, taking it. Watching her walk away, I couldn't help but smile coldly. This time, I was prepared. At quitting time, people gradually left. I deliberately took my time packing up, waiting for Hu Siyuan to leave first. Before she went, she thoughtfully reminded me, don't stay too late. I heard the building's AC shuts off at night. It gets really hot. I knew what she was up to. In my past life, when I stayed late, the AC suddenly stopped, and I almost got heatstroke. I later found out Hu Siyuan had contacted building management, claiming no one from our department was still there. After confirming she was gone, I reopened my computer and started organizing the data, not to finish Director Lin's task, but to gather evidence. The technical support office light was still on. I hesitated for a moment, then walked over. Zhang Yida sat alone in front of a computer, code I couldn't understand flickering on his screen. Still here. I knocked on the glass door. He looked up, unsurprised to see me. Overtime, he said succinctly. About that surveillance blind spot you mentioned, I chose my words carefully. Can you elaborate? Zhang Yida pushed up his glasses, the lenses reflecting the screen's blue light. The company's surveillance overwrites itself every 7 days, but recordings from certain time periods mysteriously disappear. He gave me a meaningful look. For example, last Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. on the 16th floor corridor, that was exactly when my candy had been swapped. How can I see those disappeared recordings? My heart raced. He smiled slightly. Theoretically, deleted data can't be recovered, and non-theoretically. Zhang Yida didn't answer. Instead, he handed me a USB drive. Historical data from the Vera project might be useful. As I took the drive, I felt something small pressed into my palm, a micro memory card. Technical support sometimes backs up interesting things, he murmured, almost inaudibly. Be careful with it. Back at my desk, I inserted the card. There was only one video file. I opened it and saw the surveillance footage of the 16th floor corridor from last Thursday. Hu Siyuan sneaking into my office, taking out my candy box, emptying it, and replacing it with salt pills. I clenched my fist. This was the first piece of evidence I needed. Just as I was about to close the video, a second figure appeared in the frame, Director Lin. He walked up behind Hu Siyuan, intimately put his arm around her waist, and she turned to kiss him. So that's it. No wonder Hu Siyuan was so brazen. She had this backing her up. Outside, the night was deep. The building was indeed becoming stifling, as Hu Siyuan had said, but this time, I pulled a portable fan and cold pack from my bag that I had prepared in advance. Morning sunlight streamed through the office's glass curtain wall. I arrived early and put a small bottle into my drawer. The bottle held a colorless, transparent liquid, identical to ordinary toner. I turned on my computer and brought up the evidence list I'd organized the night before. Item 1, salt pills swapped for candy, with the video backup from the memory card attached. Item 2, sunscreen laced with itching powder. Currently only had Zhang Yida's eyewitness account. I needed more concrete evidence. Morning, Minjing. Hu Siyuan's voice came from behind me. How late did you work last night? You look awful. Without looking up, I said, enough to finish what Director Lin asked for. She leaned in, her perfume giving me a headache. Great, I have some market data to add. Her hand reached for my mouse. I snapped my laptop shut. It's on a USB drive. I'll send it to you. I looked up and met her eyes. Oh, about that sunscreen from yesterday. Do you still have it? I suddenly feel like trying it. Hu Siyuan's eyes lit up, like a shark smelling blood. Of course. She quickly took the tube from her bag. I told you, this brand is really good. I took the sunscreen, pretending to read the ingredient label carefully. SPF 50+, that is high. I unscrewed the cap and squeezed some onto my fingertip. Are you sure it's safe? Of course, she swore. I've been using it myself for ages. I nodded, then suddenly grabbed her wrist and smeared the sunscreen on the back of her hand. Then let's use it together. What are you doing? Hu Siyuan shrieked, pulling her hand back. Her face went pale, Colleagues looked up. Wang Lei pushed up his glasses. What's all the noise about this early? Nothing, I said, raising my voice. Siyuan was recommending this sunscreen. I suggested we use it together. But she didn't seem keen. Hu Siyuan forced a smile. I was just startled. She rubbed the back of her hand vigorously. But the sunscreen had already been absorbed. I watched coldly. In my past life, that tube of sunscreen had made my arms red and swollen. Itching so badly I scratched until they bled, forcing me to go to the hospital for a shot. Now, let's see how long she could last. Within 10 minutes, Hu Siyuan started shifting uncomfortably, scratching the back of her right hand with her left. Siyuan, are you okay? I asked with feigned concern. Why is your hand so red? The skin on her hand was already turning red, covered in small bumps. It's fine. Probably a mosquito bite. Her smile was stiff, sweat beading on her forehead. I raised my voice. Oh dear, could it be an allergic reaction to the sunscreen? You said you'd been using it for ages without any problem. Nearby colleagues looked over curiously. Hu Siyuan was clearly uncomfortable. The rash on her hand was becoming more pronounced. I need to go to the bathroom. She grabbed her bag and fled. Wang Lei leaned in. What's wrong with her? I shrugged. Who knows? Maybe the sunscreen was expired. I picked up the tube. Want to try it? Siyuan said it's really good. Wang Lei quickly waved his hands. No thanks. I'm allergic to cosmetics. Hu Siyuan was in the bathroom for nearly half an hour. When she came back, her hand was covered in a thick layer of ointment, and she was scowling. She shot me a venomous glare. I returned an innocent smile. At lunch, I went alone to a pharmacy near the office. Do you have a strong treatment for contact dermatitis? I asked the pharmacist. We do, but it contains steroids, not for long-term use. The pharmacist took out a tube of ointment. I'll also take a box of the strongest antihistamines. After my past life's ordeal with Hu Siyuan's pranks, these had become staples in my bag. Now, I would use them to give her a taste of her own medicine. Back in the office, I found a sticky note on my desk. Department dinner tonight, don't be late. Director Lin. I smiled coldly. In my past life, someone had spiked my drink at this dinner, and I had run to the bathroom more than 10 times after her setback today. Hu Siyuan was clearly eager to restore her standing. Before leaving work, I discreetly put the small bottle I had prepared that morning into my bag. It contained my special seasoning, a concentrated extract from several types of laxatives, colorless and odorless, but highly effective. The dinner was at a Chinese restaurant near the office. Over 20 of us sat around 2 large round tables. I deliberately chose a seat near the aisle for easy movement. Tonight, we celebrate the successful launch of the Vera project. Director Lin raised his glass. Special thanks to Group A for finishing the market analysis early. Everyone toasted. Hu Siyuan sat next to Director Lin. The rash on her hand was covered with makeup, but traces were still visible. Her gaze kept darting toward me, malice glinting in her eyes. The servers began bringing dishes. Hu Siyuan suddenly stood up. Let me get everyone drinks. She hurried to the drink station in the corner of the restaurant. I excused myself to the bathroom and watched her from a distance. She furtively looked around, then took a small paper packet from her bag and poured its powder into a glass of lemonade. Need help? I appeared behind her. She nearly dropped the glass. No, I'm fine. I'll be done in a second. I looked at the doctored lemonade in her hand, feigning casualness. I like lemonade. Is that one for me? This one's for Director Lin, she said hastily, then her eyes brightened. Oh, this one is yours. She handed me a different glass. Untainted, thanks. I took it, then as she turned away, quickly switched them. Now, the doctored lemonade was back in her hand. Back at my seat, I sipped my safe orange juice. Watching Hu Siyuan out of the corner of my eye, she placed the special lemonade in front of Director Lin, but he was engrossed in conversation with someone from finance and didn't touch it. Siyuan, wasn't that for me? I pointed at the lemonade. She frowned. Don't you have orange juice? I suddenly feel like lemonade. I reached for it. She quickly blocked me. No, I've already drunk from this one. She grabbed the glass and gulped down most of it. I barely suppressed a smile. That thirsty. Over the next 20 minutes, I enjoyed the food while waiting for the effects to kick in. Sure enough, Hu Siyuan began shifting uncomfortably, sweat beading on her forehead. What's wrong? I asked with feigned concern. Doesn't the food agree with you? I'm fine, she gritted out, but her face was growing worse. 5 minutes later, she suddenly stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Excuse me. She practically ran to the bathroom. Everyone exchanged glances. Director Lin frowned. What's wrong with her? I shrugged. Maybe something she ate. Didn't agree with her. For the next half hour, Hussein went back and forth between the table and the bathroom at least 5 times, her face cycling from red to white to almost gray. The last time she came back, her legs were shaking, and she could barely stand. "I'm going home first," she said weakly, grabbing her bag to leave. "Wait," I called out. "Didn't you want to discuss tomorrow's presentation with me?" She glared at me, hatred in her eyes. "Another time," she said, then fled. Wang Lei shook his head. "Food poisoning. This place's hygiene rating is an A. Some people just have sensitive stomachs," I said meaningfully, finishing the last of my orange juice. After the dinner ended, I declined an invitation for drinks and went back to the office to get something. The office building was eerily quiet at night, only the green glow of the emergency lights providing dim illumination. My desk had been searched, though everything was roughly back in place. The angles and positions were slightly off. I checked my computer. The files seemed untouched, but my drawer showed signs of being rifled through. "Looking for something, Siyuan," I murmured to myself, closing the drawer. Just as I was about to leave, I noticed the technical support office light was still on. I hesitated, then went to knock. "Come in." Zhang Yida's voice came from inside. He sat alone in front of his computer, 4 or 5 windows open on his screen, all filled with code and data. "Working late again." I leaned against the doorframe. He didn't look up. Security system upgrade. I noticed several printouts of surveillance screenshots on his desk. One clearly showed Hussein pouring something into a cup. "Is that?" I pointed at the photo. He finally looked up, pushing up his glasses. "Restaurant surveillance. Interestingly, that camera shouldn't exist at that angle." I stepped closer to see the details. "You hacked their system." "Theoretically, that's illegal," he said expressionlessly. "Unofficially, I was just testing their security vulnerabilities." I couldn't help but laugh. "Could I have a copy of these test results?" Zhang Ida handed me an envelope, already prepared. Inside the envelope were not only high-definition photos but also a USB drive. "This is video evidence, the whole process of her doctoring the drink." He paused. "And footage of her searching your desk." My heart tightened. "Are there cameras in the office?" "Technically no," he said meaningfully, "but there are hidden cameras in certain sensitive areas." This information was crucial. I had always thought the office was a blind spot. Now it seemed everything was under surveillance. "Then, Director Lin and Hussein's affair, can you get those recordings?" I asked directly. Zhang Yida's expression shifted for the first time, a slight frown. "Some things are best left alone." His answer made me even more certain that he knew far more than he let on. "Thank you for your help." I put away the envelope. "But why are you helping me?" He was quiet for a moment. Finally, he said only, "I hate office bullying, at home." I added today's haul to my evidence library. Photos of the sunscreen incident, witness statements, video of the drugged drink at the dinner, footage of her searching my desk. Each item was time-stamped and referenced. Lying in bed, I reviewed the day's 2 confrontations. A small victory, but Hussein wouldn't give up easily. After being publicly humiliated today, she would retaliate with a vengeance. My phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother. "Ying, what do you want to eat this weekend? Dad says he'll make you his special braised prawns." My eyes stung. "I want to eat everything Dad makes," I replied, adding a smiling emoji. The weather forecast said the high today would be 39 degrees. Standing outside the office building, I looked up at the blinding sun reflecting off the glass curtain wall and felt the backup AC remote in my bag. In my past life, the AC remote had mysteriously disappeared. Today, I had nearly gotten heatstroke, while Hussein had said with a grin, "A calm heart makes you feel cool. No wonder you can't stand the heat, you're so irritable." Later, someone had found the frozen, non-functioning remote in the freezer. The elevator was crowded with people, the smell of sweat and perfume mingling. I arrived at the office 20 minutes early. It was empty. I walked quickly to the public AC control panel, set the timer using the backup remote, and turned off the AC at 10 a.m., turning it back on at noon. It was the perfect timing, long enough for everyone to feel the heat, but not so long as to cause serious discomfort. More importantly, it coincided with Director Lin's weekly inspection. I had just gotten to my desk when my colleagues began arriving. Hussein was wearing a light blue dress, looking fresh and lovely. She greeted everyone with a smile, as if she hadn't been completely incapacitated by diarrhea yesterday. "Minjing, you look a little pale." She stopped by my desk, feigning concern. Didn't sleep well last night. I looked up at her. I slept fine, had a nice dream. In my dream, you were in the hospital. I sent a wreath. Her lip twitched, but she quickly smiled again. That's good. Oh. Director Lin wants to see the preliminary plan for the Vera project today. Are you ready? Of course. I pointed at my computer. Finished it last night. I had actually gotten to the office at 4 in the morning and completely reworked the plan, making it far more robust than what Hu Siyuan had expected. In my past life, she had stolen my ideas and deliberately tampered with key data, leading to a public reprimand from Director Lin. The morning passed uneventfully. At 9:55, I glanced at the clock and discreetly tucked the backup remote into my sleeve. At 10 a.m. exactly, the AC shut off with a beep. Seconds later, someone exclaimed, "Hey, the AC's off. Where's the remote?" "Who saw the remote?" Wang Lei asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. Everyone shook their heads. The office temperature rose rapidly. The glass curtain wall let the sunlight pour in, turning the space into a greenhouse. At 10:20, Director Lin appeared at the office entrance in his suit and tie, right on schedule. He wiped sweat from his brow, frowning. "Why is it so hot? Is the AC broken?" "The remote is missing," someone answered. "Find it. How can anyone work in this heat?" Director Lin scanned the room impatiently, his gaze landing on me. "Song Minjing, go ask the building management for a backup remote." In my past life, I had foolishly gone to the management office and, of course, there was none. By the time I got back, everyone was cranky from the heat, and Hu Siyuan had taken the opportunity to say I couldn't even handle such a simple task. "No need to go to the management office," I said calmly, pulling the backup remote from my sleeve. I happened to have one. Everyone stared at me in surprise. I pressed the power button. The AC hummed back to life, cool air dissipating the stuffiness. "How do you have a backup remote?" Hu Siyuan's eyes widened. "The last time the remote's batteries died, I got one from the management office," I said, looking her straight in the eye. "Is that strange? Or do you know where the original remote is?" Her expression froze. "How would I know? Is that so?" I walked toward the corner office fridge. "Then let's see what's in the fridge." "What are you doing?" Hu Siyuan tried to stop me, but I had already opened the freezer and, from amidst a pile of ice, extracted the frost-covered remote. The office erupted. Wang Lei whistled. "Who did that?" I held up the dripping remote and turned to Hu Siyuan. "Care to explain?" Her face flushed, then paled. Finally, her eyes reddened. "It was just a joke." "I didn't think it would." "A joke?" I laughed coldly, hiding the remote in the freezer, making everyone in the office sit in 40-degree heat. "That's a joke." Siyuan didn't mean it. Director Lin interjected, frowning at me. "Song Minjing, you're overreacting." I turned to him. "What if someone here had a heart condition or high blood pressure and got sick from the heat? Would that still be a joke?" Director Lin's expression darkened. "Since no real harm was done, it's no big deal. Colleagues joke around sometimes, taking it so seriously. It's no wonder you don't fit in." Several colleagues exchanged glances. I noticed some nodding in agreement. That was office politics. Most people chose to look the other way, or even side with the bully. "I see," I said, putting down the remote. "So in Director Lin's eyes, damaging company property and endangering coworkers' health is just a joke. Then I should joke around more too." Director Lin's expression shifted. "What do you mean?" "Nothing." I smiled. "Just a joke." The office atmosphere was tense. The AC's cool breeze couldn't dispel the awkwardness. All right, everyone back to work." Director Lin waved his hand, shooting me a warning glare before turning away. Hu Siyuan followed him into his office, shooting me a triumphant look before closing the door. I sat back at my desk, my heart pounding. Although this confrontation hadn't won me any favors, at least some colleagues had seen Hu Siyuan's true colors. More importantly, I had confirmed one thing. Director Lin was indeed protecting her. At lunch, I went alone to the company rooftop. Few people came here. It had been my refuge from Hu Siyuan's pranks in my past life. Here, a voice behind me made me jump. I turned to see Zhang Ida offering a cup of iced coffee. "Thanks." I took the coffee, my fingers brushing his cool fingertips. Even on this scorching day, his body temperature seemed lower than average. He leaned against the railing, drinking his own coffee in silence. We stood side by side, neither speaking. "You saw it." I finally broke the silence. He answered briefly. The camera caught it clearly. I turned to look at him. Hu Siyuan hiding the remote in the fridge. For 17 a.m., He pushed up his glasses. She thought no one was watching. I clenched my fist. Why does Director Lin protect her so much? Zhang Ida was quiet for a moment. Some things are safer not to know. I'm already not safe, I said bitterly. From the moment she first put salt in my candy, he turned to look at me, his eyes sharp as an eagle's behind his glasses. Why are you so sure it was her? The first time, my heart skipped a beat. Instinct, I said lightly, and I was proven right. Wasn't I? He didn't press further, just nodded. Be careful. Director Lin is more than just a department head. What do you mean? His brother-in-law is the company vice president. Zhang Ida finished his coffee, so his department has never been audited. The information hit me like lightning. Why are you telling me this? I looked him straight in the eye. Zhang Ida looked into the distance. I told you. I hate office bullying. He paused, then added, especially when the bully has backing. After he left, I was alone on the rooftop again. I leaned on the railing, looking down at the city below. Back in the office that afternoon, the atmosphere was noticeably different. Several colleagues who had been friendly avoided my gaze, while Hu Xiuan's clique pointed and whispered, laughing in deliberately lowered voices. Wang Lei secretly messaged me, be careful, Xiuan is saying you're unstable and looking for trouble with her. I replied, thanks for the heads up. Did she say why? I'm unstable. His answer almost made me drop my phone. She said you have a crush on Director Lin and are jealous of her relationship with him. Toxic indeed. Not only was she smearing me, she was suggesting I was a lovesick lunatic. I looked at Hu Xiuan's desk. She was talking quietly with Director Lin, leaning close. Before leaving, Director Lin called an impromptu department meeting to announce a reshuffling of responsibilities for the Vera project. Given the project's importance, I've decided to personally oversee Group A, he said, scanning the meeting room, his gaze lingering on me. Song Minjing will be responsible for market data analysis. Hu Xiuan will handle client liaison and the final presentation. I clenched my fist. This meant my work would be presented by Hu Xiuan. She would steal all the credit again. Worse, client liaison was the easiest place to tamper with things. She could easily give me wrong information, making my materials inconsistent. Any questions? Director Lin looked at me challengingly. No, I said calmly, as long as responsibilities are clear, so is accountability. After the meeting, I deliberately lagged behind. Sure enough, around the corner outside the meeting room, I heard Hu Xiuan and Director Lin talking. She was out of line today. Hu Xiuan's voice was tearful. Don't worry, she won't last long. Director Lin's voice was low and intimate. When the project is done, her performance review will be low enough to get her out. But I can't wait. She humiliated me today. Be patient, sweetheart. It would be too obvious to act now. Footsteps approached. I quickly ducked into the nearby copy room. Through the frosted glass, I saw Director Lin with his arm around Hu Xiuan's waist. Walking toward the elevator, his hand was noticeably sliding downward. I took a blurry but recognizable photo. My heart racing. Zhang Ida was right. Director Lin was more than just a department head, and Hu Xiuan was clearly more than just his subordinate. At home, I added my finds to my evidence library. Screenshots of the remote incident, the audio recording of Director Lin and Hu Xiuan, the project reassignment email, each item time-stamped and referenced, forming an increasingly clear chain of evidence. My phone buzzed, a message from my mother. Ying, your father bought a lot of prawns today, just waiting for you to come home this weekend. I'll definitely come, I replied. I added, how's Dad's blood pressure been lately? A little high, but he's taking his medicine. Don't worry. Putting down my phone, I opened my computer and searched for Lin Ziyuan, Vice President. The first result was the company's executive bio. Lin Ziyuan, Group Vice President, overseeing HR and finance. The man in the photo was in his 50s and resembled Director Lin, so that was it. A department head bold enough to cover up workplace bullying had such a connection. I looked up the VP's email address in the company directory. Not time to use it yet, but I had to be prepared. 2 hours before the Vera project review meeting, I repeatedly checked the presentation file on my USB drive. In my past life, Hu Xiuan had tampered with key data in my PPT, causing me to embarrass myself in front of all the executives and nearly lose my job. Minjing, is your part ready? Hu Xiuan appeared at my desk, her smile sickeningly sweet. Ready. I patted my pocket. Triple backup. A shadow crossed her eyes, but she quickly smiled again. Great, I just got word the review meeting has been moved to the big conference room. They'll use a projector, send me the file, and I'll go test the equipment. Here it was, the same old trick. I pretended to think for a moment. No need to bother you, I'll go set it up myself. How can that be? Her voice rose sharply, then lowered. I mean, Director Lin has put me in charge of the meeting logistics. It's in my role. Calmly, I took a sealed envelope from my drawer. Perfect, this is a printed copy of the final PPT, please. Take it to the meeting room and put one on each judge's seat. Hu Siyuan was stunned. She hadn't expected this. She hesitated, then took the envelope. Printed copy, professional. I smiled. Vera is an old-school company. They appreciate traditional methods. I'll bring the electronic version myself. Her fingers whitened around the envelope. She nodded stiffly and walked away. I knew she was probably in the bathroom right now, frantically trying to open the envelope, but she wouldn't find my actual analysis inside, just background info. The real core data and strategic analysis weren't there. Half an hour before the meeting, I arrived early at the conference room. Hu Siyuan was fiddling anxiously with the projector. She started when she saw me. Equipment all set? I asked casually. Yes, she pointed to the connected laptop. You can copy your file here. I looked at my watch. Plenty of time. I'll do it when the judges arrive. She looked shifty. What if there's a last minute problem? It's better to prepare in advance. Good point. I nodded, took out my USB drive, and plugged it into the computer. I caught Hu Siyuan leaning in nervously. I deliberately clicked into the wrong folder, opening some random pictures. Not that. Right, she couldn't help asking. Oh, wrong one. I closed the pictures, found the correct PPT file, but didn't open it. Siyuan, could you get me a glass of water? I'm a little nervous. She gritted her teeth and hurried out of the room. I immediately pulled out the USB drive and replaced it with an identical-looking one. I copied the real presentation file to the computer, then put it to sleep. When Hu Siyuan returned with water, I was scrolling through my phone leisurely. Copied your file? She asked eagerly. Yes, all set. I took the water, pretending not to notice her eagerness to check the computer. The judges filed in. Director Lin, in his suit, walked in and shot Hu Siyuan a look. I took a sip of water, hiding my cold smile. After the Vera executives were seated, the review meeting began. Hu Siyuan, as the client liaison, spoke first. Her presentation was hollow and general. The judges nodded politely but seemed unengaged. Next, Song Minjing, our market analysis lead, will present, Director Lin announced, his eyes glinting with anticipation. He was waiting for me to fail. I stood, walked to the computer, woke the screen, and clicked open the PPT file. On the large screen appeared my carefully prepared presentation, complete data analysis, clear market positioning, actionable promotion strategies. Director Lin's expression froze. Hu Siyuan went pale, staring at the screen in disbelief. According to our research, Vera Group has a 30% market share growth opportunity in second and third tier cities. I explained smoothly, citing specific data. Vera's marketing director nodded frequently, even taking photos of some slides with his phone. This was the opposite of my past life, when I had been publicly questioned about data errors. Ms. Song's analysis is very professional, Vera's CEO commented during Candé, especially this differentiated competitive strategy. It's exactly what we need. Director Lin forced a smile. Song Minjing is indeed an excellent employee in our department. After the meeting, the Vera executives voluntarily exchanged business cards with me. Hu Siyuan stood in the corner, her gaze venomous. When the last judge left, she stormed over to me. You tricked me, she hissed. I pretended to be confused. What do you mean, that file, the one you showed? She was sputtering with rage. You mean the presentation file? I pretended to realize. Oh, I updated it last night. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. She gritted her teeth. You think this means you've won? Just wait. Director Lin walked over, frowning. What's going on? Nothing. Director Lin, I smiled. Siyuan just had some concerns about my presentation. He glared at me warningly and led Hu Siyuan away. As I was packing up, I noticed Zhang Yida standing in the doorway. Excellent performance, he said quietly, handing me a USB drive. You might need this. Back at my desk, I inserted the drive. It contained surveillance footage. Early morning. Hu Siyuan sneaking into the office and doing something on my computer. Then, that morning, her arriving an hour early to tamper with the files on my USB drive. I clenched my fist, even though I had expected it. Seeing the evidence still made my blood boil. What had I ever done to deserve this? My phone buzzed. My mother. Ying, your father had a checkup today. The doctor says his blood pressure is under control. you can come home without worrying this weekend. That's great, I'll come back Saturday morning. I quickly replied. I added, tell Dad not to overwork, I'll cook when I get there. Putting down my phone, I noticed Huseyun's desk was empty. I could hear her laughing and chatting with other colleagues in the break room. I took my cup and walked over. Just outside the door, I heard her badmouthing me. She acts so professional, but really, she just copied someone else's plan online, she said falsely. I saw her sneaking around the office last night. Who knows what she was up to? I walked in. Everyone immediately fell silent. I calmly filled my cup, then took a small bottle from my pocket and dripped a few drops of colorless liquid into Huseyun's cup. What are you doing? She yelped, backing away. Vitamin drink, I said, shaking the bottle. You've looked tired lately, you need some nutrients. I don't want anything from you. She grabbed her cup, about to dump it. Suit yourself, I shrugged, but it's imported, costs over 500 yuan a bottle. Hearing the price, she hesitated. Several colleagues looked at the pretty bottle curiously. Really? Someone asked. Of course, I ad-libbed. It has ginseng and rare berry extract, great antioxidant. Huseyun eyed her cup suspiciously. In the end, she didn't dump it, but she didn't drink it either. She left quickly. Carrying it, I suppressed a smile. It was just vitamin water with a few drops of lemon juice, but I knew she would be paranoid about it all day. That afternoon, the company suddenly announced an all-hands meeting for department heads. Director Lin left looking grim. There was much speculation. Someone mentioned hearing words like audit and investigation. Zhang Yida happened to walk by my desk, pretending to drop a pen. As he bent to pick it up, he murmured, finance found some fund misappropriation, not a small amount. My heart raced. Connected to our department, not sure yet. He straightened up quickly, but someone has been entering Director Lin's office during off hours a lot. He left. I sat lost in thought. In my past life, after I died, had something like this happened, had Huseyun and Director Lin had not only an affair but also financial dealings. At quitting time, I deliberately stayed late. Passing Huseyun's desk, I noticed her drawer wasn't completely closed. A familiar corner of packaging was visible. The itching powder sunscreen. She hadn't given up on that yet. I carefully wrapped my hand in a tissue and opened the drawer. Inside were not only the sunscreen but also several small paper packets, with fast acting and strong scrawled on them. I quickly photographed the evidence, then gently closed the drawer. What were those powders? Laxatives, or something more dangerous? In my past life, I had only experienced her pranks, but if she had planned something even worse. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. I hurried back to my desk and pretended to be organizing my things. Huseyun and Director Lin walked into the office, heads together, speaking in hushed, nervous tones. Someone reported it. Not sure who, but the audit team is coming tomorrow, Director Lin said very quietly. Could it be her? Huseyun pointed in my direction. I pretended not to hear, focusing on tidying my desk. No way, she doesn't have that kind of access. Director Lin laughed coldly. Unless someone in technical support is helping her. My heart raced. Were they talking about me? And what role was Zhang Yida playing in this? Song Minjing. Director Lin suddenly raised his voice. Still here, on my way. I picked up my bag and nodded politely as I passed them. As the elevator doors closed, I saw Director Lin hurriedly pull Huseyun into his office and shut the door. At home, I added today's findings to my evidence library. The surveillance footage of Huseyun tampering with my files, photos of the suspicious powders in her drawer, and Zhang Yida's hint about financial issues. The pieces were accumulating, but the puzzle wasn't complete. My phone lit up. A message from Zhang Yida. Don't be late tomorrow. The audit team arrives at 9. The office will be inspected beforehand. I stared at the message for a long time. Why was he helping me? How much did he know? More importantly, could I trust him? I replied with a simple thanks and turned off my bedside lamp. Outside, the moon was bright. Tomorrow would be a crucial day. Monday morning, as soon as I entered the office, I sensed something was off. Several colleagues who usually greeted me avoided my gaze. Someone lowered their voice as I passed. Wang Lei secretly messaged me. Siyun is saying you've been snooping in her private files and threatening her. Now the whole department is saying you're unstable. I gripped my phone tightly. A classic case of the guilty party projecting. In my past life, she had used the same tactic, and I had only been able to defend myself weakly, which only made things worse. Thanks for the warning, I replied. Did she say why I'm unstable? Wang Lei's answer made me laugh coldly. She says you're in love with director Lin and jealous of her. I looked toward Hu Siyuan's desk. She was surrounded by colleagues, hand over her mouth, whispering, her eyes darting toward me. When our gazes met, she flinched dramatically, as if afraid, drawing everyone's attention. A poor performance, but effective. I walked directly toward the photocopier, deliberately passing them. The whispering stopped. Morning, everyone, I said with a smile, my gaze landing on Hu Siyuan. Siyuan, you look well today. Did you have a good weekend? She hadn't expected my calm demeanor. Yes, not bad. Good, I said meaningfully. Considering the audit team showed up unexpectedly on Friday, I was worried you might be stressed. Her face went pale. Colleagues exchanged confused glances. What audit team? Someone asked. I feigned surprise. You didn't know? The company is investigating some financial irregularities. I looked pointedly at Hu Siyuan. I heard it involves several departments. Then I turned and walked away, leaving a buzz of whispered speculation behind me. At lunch, the office was mostly empty. I confirmed Hu Siyuan and Director Lin were gone, then walked to her desk. Her computer was password protected. But that wasn't a problem. After one of her pranks in my past life, she had smugly typed her password in front of me, saying, only idiots use their birthdays as passwords. I typed in her birthday. The screen unlocked. Among the messy icons on her desktop, a folder labeled Pet Videos caught my attention. Instinct told me something was off. When I opened the folder, I nearly threw up. Inside were dozens of videos of animal abuse. Some were even filmed by her. Her hands were torturing kittens and puppies, accompanied by her signature giggle. My hands began to shake. In my past life, I had thought she only liked pranks. I never imagined her psychological issues ran this deep. No wonder her jokes had become increasingly cruel. I quickly copied the videos to a USB drive. Another encrypted folder was labeled Game Records, with the password hint My Happiest Times. I tried a few combinations without success. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed a calendar on her desk with dates marked, all days when someone had called in sick or suddenly quit. Inspired, I typed happy_time. The folder opened. Inside was a detailed Excel spreadsheet, recording her pranks on each target, date, method, the victim's reaction, even scores, and improvement suggestions. My name was at the top. The detail was chilling. The latest entry was from yesterday. Plan A failed. Didn't drink the vitamin water. Preparing Plan B. Outing. This time, aim for a hospital stay. Score, TBD. Outing. Did the company have an outing planned soon? I was about to search further when I heard footsteps in the hallway. I quickly closed everything, locked the screen, and returned to my desk just as Hu Siyuan walked in. She looked suspiciously at me, then at her computer. Did you touch my computer? Why would I touch your computer? I countered. Do you have something to hide? Her expression changed. She hurried over to check. I pretended to focus on work, but saw her sigh with relief. She clearly hadn't realized I had copied her files. Before leaving, the company sent a mass email. An outing was planned for Friday at King Songling Forest Park. Everyone was required to attend. My blood ran cold. King Songling, where I had collapsed from heatstroke in my past life. The date was only 3 days off. This was no coincidence. Scared, Hu Siyuan's voice came from behind me. I turned. She was leaning against the doorframe, a cat-and-mouse smile on her face. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, keeping calm. King Songling, she said, walking in and shutting the door. I heard the scenery is beautiful there, but it's really hot in the summer, easy to get heatstroke. I looked her in the eye. I won't fall for it this time. Fall for what? She blinked innocently. It's just a fun outing with colleagues. She leaned closer, her voice syrupy sweet, but I suggest you bring extra candy and water. Oh, and sunscreen. I grabbed her wrist. I know what's on your computer, those videos, those records, enough to send you to jail. Her pupils contracted, but she quickly smiled again. It's just a joke. You're not going to take it seriously, are you? I downloaded those videos. They don't prove anything, even the ones you filmed yourself. I laughed coldly. And that detailed log of your pranks? You think the police will see that as a joke? Her smile vanished at last. What do you want? Simple. I let go. Stop all your pranks. Stay away from me, or else all this evidence goes to senior management and the police. She rubbed her wrist, and something dark I had never seen before glinted in her eyes. Fine, I promise, no more pranks. She turned to leave, then looked back. But Song Minjing, have you considered that if I were as bad as you say, I wouldn't give up so easily? The door closed, and I stood there, suddenly feeling a chill run down my spine. The day of the outing, The weather forecast issued an orange heatwave alert. I woke at 4 a.m., repeatedly checking my backpack for bottles of sports drink, 6 packs of glucose gel, 2 boxes of Huisheng water, spray sunscreen, a portable fan, and various emergency medications. In my past life, I had brought only a bottle of water and a few pieces of candy. Hu Siyuan had accidentally knocked them over, leaving me defenseless under the blazing sun. My phone buzzed, a message from Zhang Ida. "I'll be late, keep your phone on." I frowned. In my past life, he hadn't attended at all, saying he had other plans. Why this time? The company bus left at 7. I chose a seat near the front, where I could observe. Hu Siyuan was the last aboard, wearing a flimsy sundress and sandals, looking like she was going to the beach. She looked around the bus and deliberately chose a seat in the back. "Everyone fasten your seatbelts," Director Lin announced from the front. "ETA 2 hours. When we arrive, we'll split into 4 groups for an orienteering race. The winning team gets a prize." Orienteering. In my past life, it had been free time. My heart tightened. This was a trap, clearly tailored for me. Midway, Hu Siyuan suddenly appeared beside me. "Minjing, could I borrow some water? I forgot to bring any." I looked at her outstretched hand. A scene from my past life flashed before my eyes. She would accidentally spill my water, then apologize hypocritically. "By your own," I said coldly. She pouted. "So stingy." Then, deliberately raising her voice, "Minjing, you look terrible. Are you okay?" Several colleagues looked over. I ignored her and pretended to sleep. We arrived at Kingsongling. The heat hit me like a wall. I was sweating instantly. At the park entrance, the small shop had a "closed for renovations" sign. "Listen up." Director Lin blew his whistle. "Orienteering rules. Each team gets a map. Find 3 checkpoints and get them stamped. The first team back wins. Different routes, so no crowding." As he handed out maps, I noticed Hu Siyuan whisper something to him. He nodded almost imperceptibly. "Team assignments," he read from a paper. "Group A, Wang Lei, Li Jing. Group F, Song Minjing." Hu Siyuan. I looked up sharply. In my past life, it had been free time. Why such a small team? And only us 2. Hu Siyuan bounced over. "What a coincidence. Minjing, we're on a team, not a coincidence," I said, looking directly at Director Lin. "I want to change teams. Assignments are random, no changes." He waved impatiently. "Don't hold everyone up." The other teams had already set off. Hu Siyuan waved the map. "Let's go, Minjing. Let's win this." Our route was the Western Trail, passing 3 checkpoints before returning. I studied the map carefully. One stretch was exposed hillside with no shade, exactly where I had collapsed in my past life. "Shortcut this way." Soon after we entered the park, Hu Siyuan pointed at a side path. "That's not on the map." I stood still. "I know a local shortcut." She enthusiastically grabbed my arm. "I've taken it before. It saves half an hour." I shook her off. "You go that way if you want. I'm sticking to the map." Her smile froze. "What do you mean? You don't believe me?" "That's right, I don't believe you." I said it bluntly. Her expression darkened. "Fine, suit yourself." She strode off along the marked path. I kept my distance, replenishing my water and electrolytes. The first checkpoint went smoothly. The volunteer stamped our maps, but things started going wrong at the second checkpoint. "The map clearly says straight," Hu Siyuan said at a fork. Looking confused, I looked at the map. It did indicate straight, but the actual path turned left. This was exactly the trick she had used in my past life to get me lost. "Wait here, I'll scout ahead," she volunteered. No, we stay together. I wasn't letting her out of my sight. We turned left. After 10 minutes, the path grew narrower, the vegetation denser. I stopped. "This isn't the way to the checkpoint." "Oh, maybe we made a wrong turn." Hu Siyuan was unapologetic. "Should we go back?" I checked my phone. No signal. The temperature was rising. I had already drunk half my water. In my past life, she had deliberately delayed until I had a low blood sugar attack. "Keep going forward," I decided. "We'll find a way around." She looked surprised. "But there might not be a path ahead." "Then you follow me back." I turned to go back. "Wait." She hurried to block me. "I know a pavilion nearby. Let's rest for a bit." "You look unwell." I did feel dizzy, but not from weakness. The situation was too similar to my past life. I fought down my panic, took out glucose gel, and ate it. "Not necessary. Let's keep moving." Another half hour, and we were completely lost. The sun was directly overhead. I had used most of my spray sunscreen. Hu Siyuan also looked tired, but her eyes glowed strangely. "Minjing, are you okay?" she asked with fake concern. "Your face is so red." I was indeed feeling unwell, but much better than I had been in my past life. My preparations would keep me going for a few more hours at least. We need to call for help. I took out my whistle. Don't bother, no one can hear you out here. Suddenly, her demeanor changed, her smile became sinister. Honestly, Song Minjing, I'm curious how long you can last today. I stopped blowing the whistle and looked at her, finally dropped the act. What act? She tilted her head. You're the one who can't handle the heat. Nothing to do with me. She pulled out her phone. Smile. I'm putting this on social media. My friend is so weak, out of breath after a few steps. Hilarious. I knocked her phone away. Enough. I know you deliberately led us off the path, just like before. She laughed. Oh my god, you really are crazy. I realized my slip, but it was too late. She looked like she had struck gold. I'm going to tell everyone you're insane. Who's going to believe a crazy person? Just then, I heard a whistle in the distance. Hu Siyuan's expression changed. Who's there? Song Minjing. A male voice called out. Zhang Ida. How did he find us? Hu Siyuan quickly picked up her phone. We're here. Help. Minjing has fainted, she screeched. I watched, dumbfounded, as she instantly transformed into a panicked victim. Footsteps approached. Zhang Ida and 2 park rangers appeared on the path. What happened? One ranger asked. My friend has heatstroke, Hu Siyuan said tearfully. She's been saying strange things, talking about past lives. Zhang Ida hurried over and handed me a cold bottle of water. Drink this. I took it gratefully, noticing he had a professional first aid kit on his back. You've strayed far from the designated route, one ranger said, frowning. Very dangerous. My fault, Hu Siyuan said quickly. I tried to take a shortcut, and we got lost. Minjing isn't feeling well. We need to get her to a hospital. She was acting, but I did need to rest. Under the ranger's guidance, we soon rejoined the main path. Hu Siyuan helped me the whole way, her performance Oscar-worthy. Back at the rendezvous point, Director Lin rushed to meet us, looking anxious. What took you so long? The other teams finished an hour ago. Minjing has heatstroke, Hu Siyuan said, feigning concern. She nearly collapsed on the trail. She was saying the strangest things. Director Lin looked at me, a calculating gleam in his eye. That serious? Do you need to go to the hospital? No, I said, straightening up. I'm fine, just a little dehydrated. But you were just saying, Hu Siyuan began. Zhang Ida cut her off. I'll take her back to rest. The company bus is gone. I drove. Director Lin seemed about to object, but the rangers also suggested I rest. He had no choice but to agree. Zhang Ida's car was a black SUV, with the AC on high. I collapsed into the seat, shivering. It's okay, he said simply, handing me an ice-cold towel. Put this on your neck. After we had driven a while, I finally recovered enough to speak. Thank you. How did you find us? GPS, he said, pointing at my phone. I installed a tracking app on your phone yesterday, just in case. I stared at him in shock. Why? Because I knew what she would do. His voice was calm. I've seen her browser history. Her most searched topics are how to stage an accident and symptoms of heatstroke. I felt a chill. She was trying to kill me. I'm not sure, but she certainly has an obsessive need to hurt you. Zhang Ida glanced at me. What were you talking about? With the past life. I was silent. Who would believe in rebirth? Never mind. You don't have to say if you don't want to. He didn't push. What matters is that you're safe now. No, I'm not safe. I shook my head. As long as she's still at the company, she'll keep hurting people. Zhang Ida's lips twitched slightly, then let her leave the company. He handed me a USB drive. This contains evidence of fund embezzlement, and videos of her and Director Lin together, enough to get them both fired. I took the drive, my heart racing. This was the decisive evidence I needed. Why are you helping me? I asked again. This time, he gave me a full answer. Because of my little sister. When she first started working, she had a colleague like that. She wasn't as strong as you. She killed herself. His voice was calm, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I didn't know what to say. I just gently touched his arm. We drove the rest of the way in silence. At home, I opened the USB drive. The evidence was irrefutable. Hu Siyuan's falsified reimbursement forms, misappropriated project funds. Enough for criminal charges. The videos clearly captured her and Director Lin's intimate behavior in the office, along with conversations about covering up financial irregularities. Most chilling was a folder labeled Game Level Up, with a detailed plan for ultimate prank on me. It matched exactly the circumstances of my death in my past life, luring me to a remote location, delaying until I was unconscious, then playing innocent. This wasn't pranking, it was attempted murder. I compiled all the evidence, backed it up to the cloud, and wrote a long email to the HR director and company CEO, scheduling it to send automatically if I didn't cancel by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Done. I collapsed into bed, exhausted. The final step of my revenge was in place, but why didn't I feel the anticipated satisfaction? Outside, the setting sun was blood red. Tomorrow would be Hu Siyuan's judgment day. The next morning, the office atmosphere was strange. The receptionist told me the HR director wanted to see me, and that Hu Siyuan and Director Lin hadn't arrived yet. In the HR office, the stern middle-aged female director gestured for me to sit. Ms. Song, someone anonymously sent some concerning materials involving you and a colleague. Hu Siyuan. My heart raced. What materials? Videos and financial records. She pushed up her glasses. First, I need to confirm your safety. The materials suggest Ms. who may have been a threat to you, so Zhang Yida had already acted. I took a deep breath. Yes. For the past few months, Hu Siyuan has been harming me under the guise of pranks, from swapping my candy to deliberately leading me off the trail on the outing yesterday. Do you have evidence? I took out my phone and showed her the videos and prank records I had copied from Hu Siyuan's computer. The HR director's expression darkened. This is beyond workplace bullying, she said seriously. We need to. The door suddenly burst open. Director Lin stormed in, furious. Director Li, I heard you're investigating my department. He was clearly startled to see me, then laughed coldly. You again, causing trouble. Director Lin, please control yourself. The HR director stood. We are handling a serious case of workplace violence. Nonsense. Director Lin slammed the table. Siyuan is the sweetest girl, everyone loves her. It's Song Minjing. She's unstable and has been targeting Siyuan. Is that so? I said calmly, taking out the USB drive. Then take a look at this. The HR director inserted the drive and played the video of Hu Siyuan and Director Lin's affair, along with the recording of them discussing embezzlement. Director Lin's face went pale. This is fabricated. His voice shook. Technical support can verify, the HR director said coldly. Director Lin, you are suspended pending investigation. As for Hu Siyuan, she didn't come in today, Director Lin said suddenly. Called in sick. The HR director and I exchanged a glance. My intuition told me Hu Siyuan wouldn't give up so easily. Back in the office, everyone was looking at me strangely. Wang Lei quietly told me word of Director Lin's suspension had spread, and everyone was speculating. At noon, I received a text from an unknown number. Want to save your parents? Don't make a sound. They're at Sunshine Residential Area, Building 3, Unit 502. Right? My blood froze. Mom and Dad. I immediately called home. No answer. I called my mom's cell. Off. I grabbed my bag and ran, running into Zhang Yida at the elevator. What's wrong? He grabbed my shaking shoulders. Hu Siyuan, my parents. I showed him the text. Unable to speak coherently, his face changed. I'll drive. On the way, I kept trying to reach my parents. All failed. Zhang Yida ran 3 red lights and got us to the apartment complex in 20 minutes, outside the door to Unit 502. I unlocked it with trembling hands. The door was ajar. Inside was a mess, overturned coffee table, smashed teacups, my father's glasses broken on the floor. Mom, Dad, I searched every room. No one. Zhang Yida examined the apartment. No signs of forced entry. They must have let the attacker in. Look at this. He pointed to the lock. No signs of tampering. Attacker, the word made my legs weak. Images of my parents' grief-stricken faces in my past life flashed before my eyes. If something happened to them because of my revenge. My phone rang, a video call request. I answered. Hu Siyuan's face appeared on the screen, somewhere that looked like an abandoned factory. Minjing, want to see your dear parents? She asked sweetly, then turned the camera. My parents were tied to chairs, their mouths taped, fear in their eyes. You're crazy, I screamed. Let them go, don't be nervous. I just invited them as guests. She smiled. We've been friends for so long, and I've never met your parents. What do you want? I forced myself to calm down. Simple. 1. Drop all your accusations against me. 2. Publicly admit you fabricated the evidence against me and Director Lin. 3. Her smile widened. Resign and leave this city immediately. Zhang Yida was behind me. He gently squeezed my shoulder. I understood. Stall for time. I need time to think about it, I said, keeping my voice steady. 10 minutes, she said curtly. Don't be late. Oh, and don't think about calling the police. Or else, she pulled out a knife and waved it in front of my mother's face. The video ended. I collapsed onto the sofa, my vision blurred with tears. I've located her, Zhang Ida said suddenly, an abandoned chemical plant on the east side. Police will be there in 5 minutes. I looked at him in shock. When did you call them? As soon as you got the text. He was checking his phone. I have a friend on the SWAT team, they know how serious this is. We drove to the chemical plant. On the way, Zhang Ida told me the police had been watching Hu Xiyuan for a while. She was suspected of multiple cases of animal abuse and financial fraud, but they'd lacked enough evidence. Today's kidnapping will be enough to arrest her, he said. When we arrived, the plant was surrounded by police cars. An officer told us the hostages were safe. The suspect had tried to flee, fallen down the stairs, and was seriously injured and hospitalized. By the ambulance, I found my parents, shaken but unharmed. My mother sobbed in my arms. My father kept asking who that crazy girl was. It's okay, it's over, I comforted them. Tears streaming, the officer took my statement. I told him everything, including Hu Xiyuan's long history of abuse. Zhang Ida provided the key video evidence. She faces kidnapping, extortion, assault, multiple charges, the officer told us. Combined with the financial stuff, she'll be in prison for a long time. By the time we left the station, it was dark. I took my parents home and promised to stay with them for a while. Zhang Ida stayed with us the whole time. As he left, my father even shook his hand, thanking him repeatedly. See you at the office tomorrow, Zhang Ida said briefly. At home, I cancelled the scheduled email but sent all the evidence to the police and company executives. Done. I collapsed into bed, exhausted but unable to sleep. The person who killed me in my past life had finally been punished, so why did I feel so empty? The thrill of revenge was fleeting, leaving only immense fatigue and release. Yes, release, because now, no one else would ever be harmed by Hu Xiyuan again. Outside, a new moon rose. The long nightmare was finally over. Hu Xiyuan's kidnapping case caused an uproar at the company. Police investigations uncovered more evidence, the animal abuse videos, the detailed prank log, the embezzlement, and even searches for how to kill someone without getting caught. Director Lin was implicated, not only for his affair with Hu Xiyuan but as an accomplice to her fraud. The company vice president was also investigated. A complete reshuffle of management ensued. As the whistleblower, I received protection from the company. HR arranged for counseling. Zhang Ida was promoted to Information Security Manager for providing key evidence. At the all-hands meeting a month later, the new CEO publicly announced the termination and legal action against Hu Xiyuan and Director Lin. The audience applauded warmly. Additionally, the company has established a special committee against workplace bullying, directly managed by HR. The CEO said seriously, I want to especially thank Ms. Song Minjing for her courage. If not for her, this problem might still be harming our team. After the meeting, colleagues came up to offer support and apologies. Wang Lei even bowed and apologized for doubting me. I accepted it all calmly, understanding that most people just go with the flow. As I was leaving, Zhang Ida was waiting by the elevator. I heard Hu Xiyuan's trial was today. I nodded. The police had told me she faced at least 7 years in prison for kidnapping, extortion, animal abuse, and embezzlement. Director Lin was also facing criminal charges for misappropriating funds. Did you attend? I asked. For a bit, he said, pushing up his glasses. When she saw me, she looked like she wanted to kill me. We walked out of the building together. The setting sun cast long shadows behind us. Do you have any regrets? He asked suddenly. I thought about it. No, but if I had to do it again, I would have spoken up sooner, not waited until she threatened my family. He nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes I think, if my sister had met someone like you back then, you've already done a lot for her. I said softly, thank you for saving my parents. Mutual. He smiled, a rare sight. You got rid of a problem for the company, too. We parted at the crossroads. Walking home, I passed a pet store and thought of the abuse videos on Hu Xiyuan's computer. I went in and adopted a golden retriever that had been abused. It was blind in one eye, apparently stabbed by its previous owner with a sharp object. As I walked home with the dog, my phone buzzed. A photo from my mother, her and my father drinking tea on their newly renovated balcony, smiling happily. The light turned green. I crossed the street, holding the leash. A breeze blew, carrying the last of the summer heat. Autumn was approaching, and my new life had just begun. After listening to this story, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your ideas in the comments. I look forward to hearing your voice.